He managed to draft an insurance policy with the Zac jungle. Zac jungle no longer alone wins games. He gets counter jungled, but running double range with the Kalista and Lulu was the insurance. Cho'Gath top lane, the ability to have lane control meant the early denial of levels to Ambition was never able to be put forward, even though it was attempted by KT. So credit to Samsung for showing us a new way to actually ensure the Zac safe passage. We're looking at the bans just remain the same for Samsung predictably. Let's see what happens from KT, because right now, they've only focused down Crown. They have not banned the Kalista yet.
And they kind of have to take a pick between multiple ADCs if that's the route they want to take, because the Tristana is something that they've been banning away as well. So which do they want to leave available? Because whatever it is, it's likely going to be a first pick here for Samsung.
Could be a trade as well, and okay,
yeah.
It will be a trade of AD carries, so leaving open Kalista is never ideal, but because it can be one or the other, and Tristana famously has the early edge in the 1v1 trades in lane, they will give up the Kalista, but they do pick up Rakan, Gragas comfortably, because they're not worried about Samsung taking the Tristana as well.
And score back over onto that Gragas, going to be maximum comfort for him. Had some really gorgeous explosive casks coming through at different parts of the game.
And if you're Samsung, why not go back to Cho'Gath? Because the Shen didn't work from KT. Smeb wasn't able to reliably hit his engages. The super tank frontline that soaked all the damage from KT worked a treat. So Cho'Gath has been banned against Cuvée in multiple games in their last series against Afrika. So it's a smart draft here again for lane priority. More interesting question is what happens with Taliyah, because Crown could certainly take it early. Cassiopeia gone, Syndra gone. Still undefeated on Syndra, by the way, in all events this year, 8-0. So taking Taliyah away from Pawn would be an intelligent decision, and we wonder where Pawn will go with his champion. He's played Cassio, it's banned away here, one game. He's played a game of Lucian and looked decent on it. Lucian is available. They'll buy a bit more time. They knew that 80 bans would come through, and interestingly, Def does not take the Tristana, which has that superior lane matchup. He feels like he did his job on the Xayah in the previous game, and they go for more of the lane power of the Lovers bot lane again.
I mean, to be fair, he did over 1,000 DPM in a 60-plus minute game, so it was a pretty solid performance from him, but at the end of the day, just wasn't enough to close it out, and now he's got to deal with the Cho'Gath yet again.
But it's an eccentricity of KT, because we know that SKT covet the Tristana, for example, locked in multiple games in a row. Looking past the Tristana with how Tristana versus Kalista has gone traditionally is a surprise. Second round bans were largely focused on the engaged supports, understandably, with the Kalista being drafted, so Alistair could be banned alongside the Blitzcrank if KT won.
Would leave up perhaps the Taric there for the side of Core JJ to take.
I think you're happy if he takes Taric, because Taric's a lot more gimmicky when it comes to the Fate's Call and his stun taking longer. Pulling off the turret dives without significant map pressure also isn't trivial. So the Alistair ban is good. They banned one champion that lanes happily into the Taliyah. They will ban away the Rumble that we haven't seen so much of recently, was permabanned against the Afrika Freaks, and Smeb's moving away from it. Will this be Pawn on the Lucian?
Okay.
Aker blew our socks off multiple times with his Lucian play. It's a good matchup into the Taliyah. Now we'll see Pawn looking for lane supremacy, not on the LeBlanc like he has most famously recently. He'll jump onto the Lucian.
Brings that one through. So now final two picks here for the side of Samsung. Going to determine likely the jungle and support. And it's actually going to be the Janna coming through. So not going for a melee support yet again for Core JJ. We'll lock this one up. So yet again, just going to be spamming the shields out on that Kalista, trying to keep him safe.
What about Ambition, though? Because he needs to pick his jungler. We mentioned Sejuani in game one, but Zac was available. The other common matchup would be the Sejuani here into the Gragas, so it will be taken. And Samsung says if it's broke, don't fix it. They go once again for a very clear scaling teamfight comp with tanks, with an Ardent Sensor abuser in the support role. KT has less headaches to deal with, but consider what they drafted, Achilles. They just drafted Kennen into Janna. One of the cardinal sins of most pick and ban phases was going AP Kennen into a Janna. It's probably going to be AP Kennen. That's been the meta build recently. You can go AD, but AP has been preferred. To me, what KT has to do is rotate through bot lane, kill the Janna like we saw a couple of times through this gauntlet, and actually punish it early, because in the late game, it's the most trivial thing in the world for a Janna to answer the call of a Kennen.
I mean, we know how experienced Smeb is with this AP Kennen. so can still be a force to be reckoned with, but has to circumnavigate that Janna, as you say, in these fights.
But he was kind of forced into it. Rumble was banned, and they were dealing with 2 super tanks. If you just go physical damage, oh boy, the Thorn Mails are coming out early, and there won't be the ability to puncture through Sejuani and the Cho'Gath. So he had to go for an AP top laner. He's forced into the cannon into Janna, and then you look at the draft and you think, well, if that's what it came to, Samsung Galaxy once again had the read. We rewarded them for having a draft that allowed Zac to get to relevance in game 1. Now, to get AP damage, KT have been forced to draft Kennen into Janna. Now that's a compositional advantage. You can win lane, win game, and KT have won with other holes in their drafts through the course of the summer season. But we've seen Samsung play the defensive side of the coin so many times, they're going to try and do it again and scale into the late game.
All right, well, we'll see if we hit late game this time around. If we hit the late game like we had in game number 1, 60-plus minutes. Likely not going to happen here in game number 2. We'll see if KT can turn up the heat on Samsung, fire back, and tie up the score with a 1-1 to extend this series and avoid getting shut out of the World Championship here. All comes down to this. Let's see if they can do it as we jump onto the Rift. Samsung fans definitely being quite vocal out there in the audience. Have a packed audience, as you might expect. Final day of LCK here at OGN. Pretty much not an empty seat out there. As QV.
C14 AP into the runes here from Smeb, as he takes up a lot of his health bar.
Yeah, just about half of it.
They could look for an aggressive ward here because they know that Kennen will be recalling, so a bit more information available topside, and they're actually going to look to try and force Smeb to recall again. Smartly done by QV.
Yeah. Just preventing that back, just trying to keep him as delayed as humanly possible.
I mean, he has to stay now. He cannot back at 122. It's going to take multiple seconds to back and get back into lane.
Could be that or blow your TP, so pick your poison.
Well, Ambition try to profit the maximum and go for a gimmicky blue buff into top lane gank with a 2/3 HP cannon. Very, very squishy. No health in his starting item. Went for the Marin special of the Cull first. Roller entered lane and actually went for the freeze here by targeting aggro onto the side of him, which means that the minion wave will push into the side of Samsung. Does also mean they have first priority into getting level 2. If you're in a Janna lane, getting level 2 is the sort of reward you're not expecting, so that's why we didn't see a leash come through. You come back to the draft again, Sejuani uniquely can start a big camp, doesn't necessarily have to have the same sort of leash from his bot lane because of the nature of the permafrost or the E first max. Things work well for KT, they get the lane control on bot lane, and Smeb's not at full health, but still going to have a happy time in ranged versus melee.
Yeah, and of course, it's going to be the cold start here for him, as he just goes ahead and keeps punishing out QV as best as humanly possible.
Doing a bit of a budget Jace in this matchup.
As you do. Oh.
We're going to get a pause.
We will have a pause here, so maybe another headset issue perhaps. No, it's going to be Smeb.
Getting word that Smeb's having a client issue, so that's a bit awkward. Hopefully it's going to be quickly fixed.
Yeah, might just have to DC him out, reconnect him into the game.
He's like, why is the Cho'Gath over half health? What's going on?
He's got a smile on his face, so I don't think it's anything too severe here. It's also very early into the game, so nothing to get stressed about.
Not very early into the night. Longest game of the summer season. Technically not part of the summer season since it's a world qualifier, but you know what we're trying to say. Longest game in quite a long while here in Korea in game 1 that was biased towards Samsung. As the game went on, KT here. I've been thinking a bit more because you think back to the last time we had AP Kennen versus Janna. This is years ago, right? 2014 almost the last time we saw Janna back in the meta before earlier this year. And the one thing you can mention is that when it comes to engaged supports, one of the ones that can tussle up someone with a QSS or cleanse is the Rakan. So when it comes to target selection in fights, if they're going to make AP Kennen work, it almost feels like you have to have, as the teleport comes in, all the CC from the Rakan used onto Janna to stop the Janna from actually being in charge of the fight. And even then, it's only going to be a slight moment before the Monsoon will be left available again. That's very interesting to see. And it was expertly done by Samsung, the pick ban, to force the cannon pick. Because unless the Janna's not there, she has the natural kit to answer an AP cannon.
Still just going to be working on this client issue here for SMAP so we can get the game back underway. Going to be looking for a bit more action this time around. So we don't have to delay until, 60 some minutes.
Smeb is reconnecting into the game, so hopefully that means only a couple of seconds left. It means so much for QV to have a good performance against Smeb after what happened in spring playoffs where honestly, he looked second-rate next to Smeb, and QV redefined himself. He's one of the players I'm most excited from Samsung to actually get a chance to go back to Worlds, because last year, he was the role player. He was the Maokai. He was the tank. He played that also in the spring season. He actually played more carries at Worlds. You remember, he was still in AP Cannon time, a frame of mind, but in spring season was really only on the tanks. By far most played Maokai. When the carries came in, QV's champion pool wasn't there. But working on his champion pool in summer, he was a resident Kled player, excellent Kled player, dealing with other players playing the tanks and also rotating in other carries. He showed new sides to his game that he hadn't been forced to or hadn't chosen to in spring. And now he is one of our top laners. He now is in the same discussion as the other players we have in this league, like Khan and Smeb, for example. So it's going to be very exciting to see him if he does make those. So that's the player, if they make it, that I'm most excited to see. As I realize I've said excited so many times that people out there are definitely triggered.
I was going to say excited to see him, excited to see us, because now we're back on screen. So we are getting him just loaded back into the game, but it's taking a little bit longer than we had anticipated. So instead, we just get the the league talk.
I thought we were over with League of Talk, but we got to keep the podcast going. It's our last broadcast. Soak it in, guys. Remember, we will have no more OGN Korean League of Legends for the year, so this is the best you're going to get.
Feels bad.
It does feel bad.
But it's all right. We got Worlds coming up, so that's going to be nice and exciting. We get to see everybody get smashed by Korea, so hey!
He said
that's
it,
going to be
me,
fantastic.
I didn't have to say anything. Because I came in the post-Monty era, because Monty had to be the whistleblower. He had to be the person to evangelize Korean League of Legends. I kind of get the easier jobs where I show up and everyone's like, wait, you come from Korea. You guys always win, so I don't have to be boastful. The teams will do their talking.
I'm just being honest. I'm not being boastful. I'm just being straightforward.
But when you represent your region and they're winning, you are boastful by definition.
This is true. No, I hope that we have some upsets. I would like to see the Western teams do a bit better this time, make it, into the playoffs perhaps, go into the semifinal, make that stretch, try to make it into the final to square off against probably SK Telecom again. Because,
maybe. Longzhu are our champions. We are in the Longzhu era, Kilios, so
I know.
Just like we were in the Rocks era last year, you kind of want to evangelize the top-place team. So there's a chance Longzhu, who keep finding new carries for the top lane and make it work, but there is always that inevitability with SKT.
Yeah. Also, I'm excited to see how the play-in stage is going to function here for the World Championship and who's going to be going forward into China from there. So it could be pretty tight-knit. Maybe we get some upsets there.
Cloud9 might not be at Worlds, right? That's a possibility now that they don't have one of the top 2 seeds. Jensen might not be at Worlds either. One of that big mid laner that, of course, a lot has been made of in Korea. Last year, it would be insane. I think we all sat down and said, okay, SKT, KT, Samsung, they'll be back. And already that's confirmed. It won't be happening because of the rise of Longzhu. There will only be one of the 2 teams. So there is that little change, even if the TSMs and the SKTs of the worlds will always be back there.
Yeah, well, still, it's going to be a pretty interesting system to see how everything's going to go through and see which teams can make it through. Because, likes of Gigabyte Marines, who impressed us quite a bit before, maybe they upset somebody like TSM. Maybe they knock them out, and that'd be pretty crazy to see.
I like how you chose TSM of all teams they could upset. Going for the headlines.
I got to go for the highest, the biggest prize.
Let's be real. You're just looking for the Twitch clip there. Wouldn't the biggest prize be Gigabyte Marines beating SKT?
I'm not an analyst, so it's not going to be a Twitch clip. That's because no one's going to care if that gets posted on Reddit. If you had said it to be like, oh, LCK analyst says that Gigabyte Marines will topple TSM.
See, the OGN Legion, I can bring you in on my secret. I don't get in those clips because I never use the words Bjergsen and Faker in the same sentence. I just never do it. Then I can't be misquoted. Never.
Never.
Apart from that one time,
I was
never.
going to say,
I'm watching you guys.
You're telling some lies. But now you're begging for it. Now it's actually going to be there.
I know.
So it's just an inevitability now. But man, this is a long client
It
issue
is.
that we have going
We're
on.
not sure what's wrong with the client. We're told that the problem is still persisting. So more League of Talk.
Yeah, that's true. So how have you been?
I've been good. I mean, you're the biggest.
You and I haven't sat here in quite some time.
That's why I was going to ask about you, Achilles. I've been so used to looking to my left, caster starting with A, but it's been Atlas recently. So you've been on the fritz, on the back burner, watching on as Longzhu became champions. As this has been, what, 10 games already of the gauntlet, because we've gone to 5 games both times. Yeah. What are you making of all of this? What's your take in?
Oh, I've just been sitting at home, just watching. It's been fantastic, except for the final. Of course, I was at the venue.
Yep.
Had to watch those games.
Can confirm. I saw him there.
Kind of cried like a baby when Longzhu did win.
So caster bias, huh?
That was. I was just so happy for them. All right.
SKT
wins all the time. Let Longzhu have a chance. So yes, I did. I did shed some tears when they went running.
Hey, it's all right. They're already through, so you can have caster bias about Longzhu after the fact when you've completed your casting of them for the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Only Worlds remains, so now that
precisely
Longzhu's in
what
the
I
pack, you're okay.
All right, well there we go. Got it out of the way. But no, that was a great final actually. So always like to go out and attend them, even if it's games that like I am not that involved in.
Sure.
If there's a nice final in the vicinity, a good StarCraft event going, yeah, go ahead and hang out. It's always a good time.
Live finals. I mean, there's nothing like them. The pageantry, especially when OGN's running them, they can pull off some pretty crazy intros.
I mean, we dropped the booths from the ceiling this time around, so that was pretty great. Before, we just had panels that lifted over top of them and kind of covered them, and this time we're like, let's just drop them from the ceiling itself. So that was neat to see.
And we also dropped 2 great filler videos. We were in the first one.
That's true. Oh yeah. Great's a strong word for that one. That was that's a.
We had that awkward part where we finished filming and then we walked around the OGN stadium and different Korean ADs or like assistant directors came around and told us how great our acting was, which goes one of 2 ways, right? It's either you were great or more likely it's great acting.
Yes.
That's what it felt like.
It was a very big slash S. It seems like we're having to have Smeb restart the entire computer.
I hope we don't have to rebuild a computer like that one time.
That's happened.
They were
before.
pretty fast at it, but it will add the minutes, unfortunately.
It still does go on for a little bit of time here. So hopefully the reboot of the PC will just go ahead and get things squared away, and then we can again get this game going. So maybe we'll hit 60 minutes anyway for game number 2, not on the in-game clock, but just in the overall time spent.
What about 60-minute of pause? You've been there before.
Yes. Oh, yes, I have.
How are your socks looking today?
My which I think I'm wearing black socks today, but we won't show those yet. That's for another time. That's for deep into this pause.
You know what
That's
socks
40-minute
time?
territory.
You know what socks time when we've already played Hangman with Twitch chat, which
That's
we have
true.
a lot more viewers today than you had when you played Hangman. So trying to make sense of it, probably pretty difficult.
Yeah, trying to pick out what letters you're actually going to select to dissect the puzzle. That could be a bit tough to go ahead and square away. So maybe we'll avoid Hangman if we hit that 30, 40-minute pause length.
Extra points if you can tweet at me what the word was when you played Hangman with Monty that one time.
Yeah, that's true. If you guys remember what that is, then go ahead.
I remember the word.
Send that towards Papa's with Oh, I remember as well.
People are going to load up the VOD and be dirty, but if you do remember, get it in there.
You figured it out first before anybody else. You're the one who put it in the chat and ruined it. We were trying to get the game going, and you just had to spoil everything.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it ahead of time. I just was surprised. But I mean, coming back to the videos.
It was a pretty obvious one.
I don't think we deserve an Emmy for our acting, even if people were saying good.
But Hooney does.
Exactly.
Hooney definitely does.
Hooney should be nominated for some sort of web Emmy or something.
That was pretty fantastic. It went to weirder places than I ever anticipated, I will say.
The MeUndies ad segment from Immortals days was
fantastic.
Just that's when you're like, okay, you guys know your memes.
Yeah, that was pretty spectacular. But the urine samples and everything like that was a little bit bordering on odd. But kudos OGN. You decided to push the boundaries. They break the mold in esports.
They know what the people
want. Mold in their videos.
They know what the people want. We're getting further information that the problem's still not resolved. But good news.
We're gonna look at some.
We're gonna share some other people. We're gonna shame other people for just 1 second. Apparently, that's the way we do it.
She's a filthy Rammus player, so we just had to point her out.
Whoa!
I see you power balling down that lane.
You seem biased against Rammus players.
I play AD carry.
I know.
It's a pain in my ass. Let's be real.
Because even if your support puts the ward and the tri-brush, the lane gank, real enemy.
He's still going to be there. He's just going to flash on top of your face, and then he's got the taunt, and then you just die.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is a accurate diary entry after you die to a Rammus.
Yeah, I've entered that into my diary many a time in a single game.
Oh,
I just keep a log open on my other monitor.
A lot of people keep a log of the season. It's been a really interesting season. I guess we can do a bit of wrap-up now because it is the last day, right? This is our absolute last day. No more broadcasts from us. If you're wondering about promotion, a couple people tweeted at me, OGN won't be covering the promotion. We haven't been privy to when the dates are, but the future at some point, I would assume before Worlds is probably the right way to expect it.
That's a very safe bet to make.
There will be English coverage of the promotion from what we understand. So that part is at least good. CJ, Kongdu Monster, BBQ, and Ever as we switch through as someone's caught.
It's Dongmin.
It's one of our producers caught eating and memeing.
And he's just hiding behind his Cheetos and phone. The ultimate camouflage.
That's a true esportsman right there. He just needs some Mountain Dew.
Yeah, exactly. That would have completed it all. But it's not that, it's not the most common of sodas here in Korea.
No. We have more Dr. Pepper than Mountain Dew for sure.
Which is also not saying much because there's not that much Dr. Pepper either. But the one that, the one that I am very frustrated with, because I try not to drink too much soda because it's a lot of sugar, a lot of calories. But
you're setting a good example for the OGN Legion.
Yeah,
also.
Stay healthy, friends.
Yeah.
I'm actually
How's your alcohol
the worst.
going?
I am the worst person to talk about eating healthy by any stretch of the imagination. But root beer. You can never find root beer here.
It's a very American thing.
Yeah. It's also very expensive when you do find it. It's like $5 a can.
Yeah, you can find it in the places that import foreign goods, like you say, and you can see it at some like American chains if they have a stall here, then you can get it here. We're hitting a bit more about Smeb. Fingers crossed this reconnect's going to work. This reminds me of when there were those skin issues at the Gangnam Stadium, and it was like, we're restarting it for a 7th time. Hope 7's the lucky number.
Yeah, there's been some fun with pauses.
But this is a
Sorry,
record for us.
I was having like a Nam-esque flashback right there. I just had to snap out of it. But yeah, it seems like we might have things taken care of. He's just getting reconnected. And then we're going to make sure that everything is fine and get the all clear.
And if you're new to watching LCK, we don't take breaks during pauses.
No, we don't. We just stay here and we talk
just
to
keep
you.
talking. We could be talking all night. We could be here at 11 p.m., one game played, still talking.
I mean, we've been here pretty late before. There was a time that we didn't get out until 12:30.
I feel like 1 a.m. was the record.
Well, it was 12:30 in a snowstorm.
Yes.
So then you and I couldn't find a taxi to go home.
But that story got even better because we looked for a taxi for what, an hour and a half?
We walked all the way around the area looking for a taxi. Couldn't find anything.
So we went back to the rally point, which would be back at the OGN studio.
And then we ran into Gorilla, who also could not have. He just also couldn't find a taxi for the life of him. And that was even more impressive because he can order a taxi on his phone, sort of like Uber.
Yeah.
And couldn't find any. There's none in the area.
To be fair, you probably don't want to drive around looking for fares in a snowstorm.
This is very true.
You went home. That's what all the drivers did. So we had to call in one of the other casters, Wolf, to come to the stadium with a taxi that he took 40 minutes to find, pick us up. And Gorilla was not going the same direction.
And then drive us back.
But if you found a taxi, that was the golden ticket. It was basically Willy Wonka all over again.
Yeah.
And he took that taxi on. But credit to the man. Let's give him credit where credit's due. Gorilla paid for the taxi.
He did. And it was a luxury taxi.
It was
a higher fare.
It was like an Uber Black.
But he thanked us for helping him out. We thanked him for paying for it and for hanging out for a little while. And yeah, that was an interesting night.
Just one of the eccentric nights we have here. Over in Korea.
That was before I moved to where we live now. So I was actually even further away. Yeah. So I was even further away. So I had to take a taxi from Sangsu to Noksapyeong. And that was
giving inside information here to 40,000 people.
I meant Hongdae to Noksapyeong.
Seoul to the other part of Seoul.
Should I just write down your address and hold it up for them?
You don't know my address. Let's be real.
That's true. I have no clue. I just know the sort of where you live.
Yes, yeah. That's how we go. We stumble in a direction. Usually works out.
Yeah.
We're not talking about League of Legends very much, because there's really no League of Legends to talk about.
I mean, we were less than like 2 minutes into that game or 3 minutes into that game, so there's not much League to be talked about. We've kind of gotten the rest of it out of the way.
LPL final was last night. I was casting at the time, so I only caught game 1 and 2. My RNG prediction was looking pretty good, and then as goes the way, Uzi could not win his first title. 2018 even.
Rip.
Uzi and Score on the same team. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, maybe he'll be able to do it finally.
I want to see Uzi and Score on the same team in a final.
That would be pretty insane. But who knows? Who knows if
Two negatives. Positive.
Yeah, exactly. He You did the math.
I did.
Oh dear. So did you watch Death Note? Might as well talk about this now.
No, I watched the anime, but not the latest.
You haven't watched
video.
the new
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, there goes that topic. Never mind.
See, I'm not wholesome on reviews. I don't only trust reviews. When the reviews are like, don't watch it, I'm just like, well, my life has probably improved by not watching it.
I would say it's not like avoid at all costs level of bad, but not for me. I think that if it existed as its own material, if there wasn't the anime, that it was based off of, then people would actually probably take to it and be pretty satisfied. They'd be like, oh, this is a cool premise, whatever. The movie was neat, but because it's based on one of the bigger animes and mangas out there.
What about
just
the obvious question,
hatred.
Achilles? Ghost in the Shell or Death Note when it comes to later reworks or later adaptations?
I actually still have not watched the Ghost in the Shell movie, so I can't give you that knowledge. But my friends who all work in the film industry have said that Ghost in the Shell is much, much worse.
Name dropping, huh? Your friends in the film industry?
Yes.
Do you reckon they talk about their friend in the esports industry?
How is that a name drop? I didn't even name anybody.
Because the film industry's like, ooh,
I wasn't like,
fancy.
oh, my friend Brad Pitt said that Ghost in the Shell was not very good. That's keeping it ambiguous, okay?
Your friends in the film industry.
You don't know what film industry they're in.
That's true. That could be non-broadcast.
Yeah.
Worthy talk right there.
Exactly.
Let's keep away from those friends. Those are friends we don't talk about on this broadcast. We're not rated for it, Achilles.
That's why I'm keeping things nice and
on the DL.
Yeah, nice and loose there.
So we're getting a couple more updates.
Okay.
Seems like still nothing is completely resolved, but it sounds like fingers crossed we're going to be able to get in there soon.
Yeah, so we just have to go ahead and get him back in. So it's difficult getting him ready to go, but seems like we're on that path. And then we can continue.
The word chrono break was said in our headsets. We're not sure if
Yeah.
it's being used, if it's being considered, what's happening, but gameplay soon. Bless RNG going on right here, which was kind of an ironic thing to tweet yesterday during the RNG final, but that sort of
we're encroaching on 7 p.m. here in Korea, and we've gone through one single game.
Well, we started early.
This is going to be
That's
5
hours to play 4 games. We're fine. We're okay. As long as they're not 60 minutes each time, we'll make it by midnight.
All right, maybe we'll get some of those 25-minute just absolute slaughter games. But hey, look
what's
at
this?
that. We are back in. We got gameplay, baby. We're ready to go.
The dream.
Yeah, 3 minutes in. All right, quick, analyze. What's happened, Papa Smithy? Who's winning?
Kennon's still ranged auto-attacking down at Cho'Gath. So that's your status update. Thanks for joining in. It's my League of Legends weather report. Maybe more things will happen.
Grand Entrance, they're not quite going to be finding the knock-up. Ruler's been pretty elusive through game number 1, and now these first 3.5 minutes of game 2.
Now I have to remember what the comps were. I'm like, wait, there was League of Legends? Okay. Remembered the John Cannon situation going on. Ambition is going to be power farming on the Sejuani, so he's happy. Second time score has been empowered with this Gragas. Gragas Rakan, first round draft in game 1, first round draft in game 2, but Anna can potentially nullify all of that. Good to see score still on the front foot though. When you see a Sejuani, you know you have a skirmishing advantage, and that's why we see Gragas playing around the top side and allowing the cannon to overextend. He knows that with these camps up, there's little to no chance that there's going to be a Sejuani top side.
Just going to go ahead, pop that scrying plant, make sure that he is safe. Get that recall off. He'll make it back perfectly fine. Ambition down on the bottom side, also going to be matching. And maybe we will have a little bit of a faster pace game here with the Infernal Drake starting us off. There should be a bit of a race to try to go ahead and pick up that objective for either side.
So count as a faster paced game if it still goes 60 minutes because of our pregame pause talk?
I think that I guess that we have to ratio it to the number of kills in the game. There's a lot of kills that we can consider it a fast game. But if not, if it's going to be a slow pace, low kill game, then no. It's just going to be very much like game 1.
That's separated this playoff gauntlet compared to the finals gauntlet, to me, has been more Ardent Sensor users. You know, we had a smattering of Ardent Sensor late in the season when other regions was playing it pretty extensively, but it's only recently that we've had a lot of Ardent Sensor. We will see at least 2 in this game. Has been a bit different. Does mean there's those low impact lanes. So different from Core JJ going from lane dominant in his Zyra, by far his most identified support to very much the wave clear and defensive nature of the Janna. Showing a bit of a different speed, but we were pushed in bot lane a moment ago. Lucian has control of the mid lane. Kennan's pushed in top lane, so just like the previous game, looking for Score to make the big plays. He is the person empowered to play Battle Ward when all the lanes are in comfortable spots.
And now pushing up into the bottom side. We'll get the double knock up there. Mata's got quite a many few Ren stacks, and that's just going to be it. Mata, what are you doing? Absolute madman, just not thinking about it. The spears come out, and Core JJ with one final auto will take him down.
And that was with heal available. We talked about summoner spells being misused by Smeb and the solo kill topside. A 2v2 kill in a game of this size after Mata and Deft had a much better laning phase in summer season is almost unconscionable. And now Deft is denied, and now the lanes that were winning in pressure before no longer are. And you throw out all the pre-match analysis, you throw out all the first 5-minute analysis, you throw out the pick ban, and that's just a straight-up mistake from Mata, of all people.
I mean, that's pretty much inexcusable, you'd have to say, from the likes of Mata, but now calling. Used here by Pawn, can't quite get the tracking down onto Crown as he keeps himself alive with the heal. Doesn't have to use the flash, but good pressure coming up from the Lucian. Now Ambition dashing forward, looking for the slow, will find it, but gets the flash away from Pawn.
Ambition doesn't even need to make the jungle play for that to happen. We see Score base checking 2, but that's after Pawn already had to back away with his flash down.
Looking for a little bit of damage there on a Crown, maybe to force out the flash from the Talia, but has the body block there from the Sejuani to keep himself safe, so Crown will be able to hold on to that summoner spell. Meantime, though, Mata with the roam up. He'll be looking to make a more heads-up play as he contests these Raptors alongside Score.
He can still happily invade because Mata is a slippery Rakan, but also has both his summoners up because he did not use them previous time. Don't really get too much out of it, though. Ambition going to happily power farm. KT wanted to trade on the strength of their lanes to get an advantage, so that's why losing a 2v2 kill there is an even bigger problem than it might have been in another scenario. Infernal Drake is first spawn. You have to consider 3 pressure lanes and Infernal spawn. It should be Infernal automatically for the side of KT with the pressure they would have had. The solo kill in the bot side, Ambition now feeling strong enough to enter lanes. Things have changed as Flash has to be used by Ruler.
Has to go ahead and pop that one to keep himself safe, but now it's still posturing forward, looking for a lot of damage down onto Deft. Heal will come out. They can't use it onto Ruler. Then he'll stay alive. Shield's going to go ahead and mitigate a bit of that damage.
Deft saw firsthand that heal early is the right way to go, so just healed very early in the piece. No Ignite or Exhaust on the side of Samsung, and maybe that's what forced or led to Mata playing a bit less respectfully. Heal on Core JJ. Did not see this in game 1 on his Lulu, but does go Wind Speakers, so Wind Speakers and heal on the Janna, and Ruler once again will persist with the barrier, so still super defensive in the summoner spells by Samsung, and Janna also on the defensive side.
We're trying to poke up here and get some more damage down onto this turret, which he's already chipped down to about half HP, but has to respect the Blade Caller. Doesn't want to get caught out underneath the turret.
You further that point, Achilles, what I just mentioned about defensive summoners. A Janna lane picking up first blood while taking defensive summoners. No gimmicky Blitzcrank all in with Ignite. It means the Ardent Sensor is going to be there super early.
Yep. Just going to fast track that build coming through. Yet again, culling used in on the Crown. Again, he won't be able to go ahead and just slip his way around the corner, keep himself alive. Look for a lot of damage down onto Deft. Quite going to connect with the knock-up, but just the auto attacks have done the damage necessary.
See the Score is bot side. I don't know if he was spotted. Don't believe he was spotted on any vision. Has the explosive cask up.
Mission is near, but Ruler is quite far forward.
Need to go for Ruler here.
Doesn't have the flash available. He's going to get jumped on, and he's going to get popped back. As that Monsoon does come down. Ruler still alive somehow in the fight now. Ambition arriving. Will find the first kill of this one. In onto Deft. 2 now over to Samsung and looking for Score as well. The Ren comes down. Double kill going over to the Callista. Pawn arriving just a bit too late to try to be impactful, but now Crown is hot on his heels.
Doesn't have flash, remember.
For the chase down.
Oh, I got
the
him.
seismic shove. Can they follow up with the kill? The answer is going to be yes. He just tries to turn around, get rid of Crown, but it's not going to be happening. That's going to be another one. 4-0 on the board. Now an Infernal Drake. Samsung Galaxy getting the ball rolling so early into this game.
I don't have the superlatives to tell you guys how big of a role reversal this is. 3 losing lanes, has got 4 kills and the first Infernal Drake of the game, completely off script from the mistakes made by KT Rolster. Why are they ganking a Janna lane with heal, all summoners up, and a Kalista? They had so much defensive status that they just turned onto Deft, fought through the Monsoon healing, killed Deft, got the bonus kills as well, got the Drake, won the absolute maximum, and it says 2,200 gold, but it might as well feel like 10,000 because Samsung is insanely ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be almost the Blade of the Rune King completed there for Ruler at 11 minutes in.
And look at that
Has the
item.
Bilgewater, has the recurve.
And an Ardent Sensor.
Yep.
At 10 minutes. And double buffs, why
boy.
not? Well, this laning phase is completely over.
This got just about as bad as it could possibly get.
Game 1, it was Smeb being solo killed. Game 2, it was the bot lane playing poorly. It's all falling apart for KT Rolster in a game that should have taken them to the World Championships that this roster came together for. Remember, Kilios, we know it's kind of been said around the ethers that these players took pay cuts to play together, to win Worlds, to shoot for the top, and to not even make it to Worlds. It's such a more star-studded roster than the roster that didn't make it to Worlds last year. Would be unacceptable for the KT org. And honestly, the players here, these are proud players for KT Rolster. So many of them at the World Championships last year. Everyone but Score at Worlds last year. And they need to make things happen right now.
Oh, they're definitely trying to do just that here as they jump in on Akiva. He's going to flash away. Can he make it out with his life? No, the chase will come through. Smeb does find the kill, but the first break is still going to be going over to Samsung in the meantime, down to that bottom side of the map. They're going to try to answer for the top tier 1 turret, which should be possible here. They will just go ahead and chip away at it, but Samsung, they're pushing forward. They're looking for the inner turret.
But KT don't want to play in Janna's lane. They don't want to play around the Janna and Kalista. They want to avoid 5v5s, so 2v2s, 3v3s, all they really feel they can take at this point. They do have a tempo disadvantage, like you say. They'll pick up a Rift Herald slowly through the Graga soloing it down. Inner turrets this early usually don't mean too much. If it ends up being an inhibitor, that's where it becomes a problem for KT.
They're still pushing in. It's just going to be Smeb all on its own. Some of the recall starting to come through from the likes of Pawn and Mata. Now arriving, they lock up Ambition. Takes quite a bit of damage. We'll go ahead and abandon this.
Pretty hard to return to turrets when they're taken down this early. Pushing an inhibitor when the mid lane outer turret for your enemy team is still up is very difficult to do. Score wasn't forced to recall, so can at least pick up what he hopes will turn into an answering turret later with the Rift Herald buff. Samsung doing the smart thing, playing around where they're strongest. Still, 4 summoners up and all abilities up on Kalista and Janna. They will win every skirmish when those two are involved.
Yeah, the only reprieve is that the double buffs have gone away. So that's the only thing really alleviating the pressure there. Now you can see the rotation up to the top side of the map. Ruler going to be rotating here. We'll find a control ward in the river that he can clear out. Be matching against Pawn at the moment.
Best item already complete from Smeb, the only person who's had a happy time. Rush to the Leandries, which does help him in poke trades, but means the explosions of enemy champions, like he was famous for at Worlds last year against G2, harder to do when you go for Leandries, and of course the damage on the Cannon Ultimate was backloaded so that the instant explosions with CC don't happen anymore. Samsung are top lane, and that means that nobody wants to be around, even if Ambition shows up. The two of Ruler and Core JJ were enough for KT to play elsewhere.
Yeah, they just immediately go ahead and play back, but Ambition being there makes it even deadlier, even though the Glacial Prison is not available. So just going to be another turret getting picked up here for the likes of Samsung. 3 in 14 minutes. And over a 3,000 gold lead here for these guys, so it's been a much better start to the game, especially after that long pause that we had leading in. So it seems like Samsung will be the ones really staying focused throughout that bit of an extended break that we had.
Also coming off a victory, which when you add in what is obviously tilting for both teams, right? Being forced to sit there, not talk, just wait longer and longer, and you're sometimes unclear why. Coming off a victory is something to piggyback off rather than KT coming off a frustrating 60-minute defeat. Doesn't excuse what is some real head scratches. They lose this series based on solo mistakes from players with huge reputations and who have had clutch moments. That'd probably be the most frustrating thing, right? Because that's the one thing they would have assumed wouldn't happen. Smeb's mechanics praised. Deft and Mata, legendary duo bot lane who weren't the best at laning phase in spring but have been excellent in summer. These are things they thought they could rely on, and even that is starting to unravel.
Yeah. Especially, you know, the legendary shot calling and micromanagement from Mata. Can't carry that through to help the team afloat. It's going to be rather upsetting here for the squad, for the fans watching back home.
I mean, KT has a huge fan base. You know, Rocks Tigers was up there last year, but KT this year inherited a lot of those fans, had the same sort of expectations. Often it feels like when it comes to the global community especially, it's SKT or not SKT, and KT were the team to represent not SKT to a lot of people. Now Longzhu have come on the line, maybe other people will have them as a consideration over the course of summer, but the KT story started with high expectation. Among every community, Korean, English language, the talk of KT Rolster's what if roster. You heard Mata might be there, you heard that Deft might be there, it all came together, one and by another. This would be the way they thought it would go. But again, the game's not over yet. Samsung in a great spot, more ahead than the gold lead shows, with the Janna naturally to answer the comp of KT. But Samsung are not immune to mistakes. They're just a team that largely plays in a defensive style and leave themselves open to less mistakes.
I mean, we saw that from game one. Played very defensively, got scaled up, and let KT bring the fight to them. Now still just posturing up here into the mid lane, looking to knock down this tier 1 turret. Already weakened it, but the wave clear from the Xayah, of course, is going to be quite strong. In the meantime, we can hear that Rift Herald is going to be
very shallow
popped.
Rift Herald in bot side.
Yeah, just throwing it down, likely
Seems
close to expiration, I suppose. So.
But if you were going to spend so much time topside, using the Rift Herald in kind of lackadaisical fashion where you just get feasted by QV is weird, but it does mean they can try to make a play elsewhere. I thought this would be the impetus for KT to try to make a play, but it's Samsung making the play in mid lane, and they take another turret, whereas the Rift Herald isn't really going to be guided to any sort of success.
Yeah. Weaver's Wall thrown down, just makes her a very easy turret take. So that's already 4 turrets here in less than 20 minutes from Samsung. Smeb smelling some blood in the water there is going to go ahead and retreat, making sure that he stays safe. Gets hitched on, but in the meantime, Mountain Drake going to be started up, and of course they have the Kalista there for the confirmation. So second Drake going to be going over to Samsung here. Mountain Drake alongside that Inferno, so Infernal rather. Starting things off rather well for them. Cloud on the way. So as Max was talking about, we get our Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Samsung. Complete control of the map. Unfathomable based on the draft, but based on the play, based on the surprise of the misfires from KT. Guaranteed with where they're at. Ambition doesn't have to worry about it being faded anymore. Hurricane, Boots 2, and Blade the Ruin King with an Ardent Sensor and a Janna in his pocket at 18 minutes is insane stuff for Ruler. KT cannot choose any fights when the Kalista Janna are involved. They're just going to be parked in the mid lane, stop there from being a mid lane turret going down, and mid lane turret has already fallen for KT Rolster.
Ruler pushing in for a bit of damage down onto score. Finds a little bit, but overall not going to be doing too much to threaten the Gragas. That built-in sustain to go ahead and keep himself relevant in the vicinity. So where do they want to go from here is going to be the question. Waves pushing up into the mid lane. Now TP coming in from behind. Smeb looks to join in the fight. It's going to be answered by QB. He's coming in a bit late, but Deft has already popped Crown. That opening kill, the heal from the Talia is just not going to be enough to keep her alive.
It's sort of an unorganized fight where you can actually negate the Janna because the team isn't playing as 5. The team wasn't grouped up. QV cancelled his teleport, returns to pushing. Good teleport position from Smeb. Guarantees a kill because they couldn't recommit onto the fight for fear of the cannon coming in.
See now, they put something on the board. They alleviate a bit of pressure here for themselves. Red of Crown and wants to have those waves constantly pushing in towards those inner turrets that are standing. Cuvée cancels the TP, gets the refresh there, but still not going to be getting anything done in that bottom side of the map. Didn't have the time to go ahead and push forward, try to get some damage down onto that inhibitor turret. So instead just has to rotate over and take a Scuttle Crab.
A max damage build. Only going to be 1 tank on the side of KT, so if he gets in there, Feast will be doing certainly impressive damage numbers when it comes to percentage of enemy life taken. We did see, famously, Huni one-shot pawn on Talia. Just Feast.
It's an amazing outplay.
A lot of gameplay involved.
Yeah. Cube now just looking to chunk out Smeb so he can get some of that amazing outplay. Display it here for us.
You have to laugh, otherwise you cry.
Maybe do both simultaneously.
Turns on to Ambition, but it's only going to be a bit of parting damage, no ability to follow on. Only one aggressive ward, the one that Kennen teleported onto a couple of moments ago. They don't have the insurance in order to face check or look for engages. Don't often see the Ambition, so the Janna team pushing in for deep wards, but with where the power is at, that's what happens here.
Really just looking to fight around the vision here in this top side of the jungle. This crown goes low. Calling's going to get popped. He has to back up. Flashes over into the Baron pit and still will go down. Pawn finds the kill, and now Ruler in a spot of bother tries to get away. But get jumped on, still takes quite a bit of damage. The Storm comes out.
And the Baron aggro was the thing that did it there. I didn't 100% confirm it, but was able to get the last bit of damage, take him over as Pawn isn't smiling, but he looks nonplussed about it.
He looks like he has no idea what killed him, actually. But I do believe that it was the Baron, as you say.
That's a good news story for KT, as Core JJ was tanking Baron aggro afterwards and had to get out as well. Misfire and putting down the aggressive wards turn on to Baron. Remember, they have Cho'Gath Kalista again. Baron secure is still there. We're going to see the replay. Baron being too optimistic, pushing up. Culling comes down, but you think he'd be able to get out.
Yep.
Didn't really see how Baron was aggroed there, but it did the rest of the work.
Baron wanted to just speed the game along. So that pause was way too long. Let's just go ahead and get this rolling.
Hey, doing us solid. I appreciate it, Baron.
I really couldn't tell for a second if that was a still image of Crown or if it was actually a live video. Because he just wasn't moving at all.
But Samsung just returned to what they were doing before. Don't have the deep vision they were looking for, but doesn't change the way the game was played. You'll note that no objective was taken by KT during the death timer. Both carries flashes are down, so that's at least a mini win for the side of KT Rolster. Samsung play around Sejuani Janna. If those two are involved, around 600 units from each other, it seems very difficult, almost unconscionable for KT's comp to come together, but when they're not grouped, there is a chance KT go for the wombo engage.
Oh, Ruler pushing forward, trying to get Mata here. Catches him, gives him a bit of damage there. And now Samsung maybe looking to go ahead and push up into the mid lane yet again.
Well, KT are trying to separate the map. Samsung are trying to work with what works, which is staying grouped as 4 or 5. That's why we see them here. And Lucian just wants to go the side lane, because if they're just shoving lanes, they're trading Varm. There's no ability for Samsung to grow, because they already took a lot of the easy objectives on the map, and extends the game from KT and allows them to get to Morai.
I mean, you can see just how much respect Crown has to show to Pawn right there, wrapping all the way back around the bottom side of the jungle, rather than trying to cut through to catch the wave.
Well, they're not playing around their own jungle, they're playing around the enemy jungle, so he doesn't have vision there. It's one of the few places where he can't walk with disdain for the enemy. He has to be respectful, or as respectful as he feels the enemy deserves. Obviously, getting the cold to the face was the surefire sign to play a bit more respectfully. In all this time, nothing has grown for Samsung. Still a huge lead, still 4,400 gold for this Janna comp. But the items are coming together for KT, soon to be Black Cleaver. So 2 items for Pawn, 2 items for Deft, already complete. Zonia is probably going to be completed for Smeb. Could just Zonia's very early and try to be in the middle of a fight. No ability for Janna to disengage when you're in stasis. It's going to be a third Drake, soloed down by Ambition, taken without any sort of competition by KT.
It's going to be a 4 Drake game here for the likes of Samsung. Get ready for the next one to spawn. Cube just going to walk over and get his noms in.
Want to get his feast stacks above 6.
It's going to be another Infernal.
Maybe that will be where KT are forced to fight. Spawns about 30.5 minutes into the game.
I mean, 4th stack and double Infernal is definitely worth fighting for there. But they want to be in a prime position to do so, not get shoehorned into that fight and suffer a loss.
Problem for KT is you consider how fights were expected to play. They were expected to be ahead in gold. They were expected to have the Drakes, and they were looking to pop someone. That was their plan with the draft. Usually when Taliyah plays against comps like Samsung, we saw that in the previous game, Taliyah against 2 tanks. Threaded volley, famously can't go past the front line, kind of tickles tanks in the late game. You don't think about Taliyah damage that much. In this game, there is not really much of a front line on the side of KT.
Roller's
Just running wild.
The Culling's going to come down, and he didn't get the rend off. I don't think it was enough stacks to quite kill Pawn. He also had the heal ready to go.
It was 3 items, so hard to say there. But the more Marmodius already complete. That's the sort of damage that Samsung, multiple members, will be able to do the front line of KT because only Gragas has any sort of tanky stats in the front of him.
Close call there. Had Pawn gone down, could have been a very swift turnover onto that Baron. Would have been a pretty swift call that Samsung could make. Now have to clear out the vision inside the pit.
They could have just started, of course. They don't have to kill the vision. It's being controlled by the ward, but more about turning off and looking for a fight than trying to rush down Baron would be a bit suspicious for KT.
It was a stacked ward. There was a control ward in the back of the pit, so had to get rid of at least the one.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They turn onto the Baron now, but Scrying Orb used by KT.
Yeah, we'll spot that one out. And Ambition has to try to body block here, cut everybody off. So still just going to be playing around the vision here on this top side of the red jungle.
You don't have deep enough vision to make rushing down the Baron realistic. You need to know how far away enemy champions are if you're going to try and rush down the Baron to best use your skills. And the last time they tried to do that, they had to blow flashes, and Crown was killed in transition. So KT, again, extending the game. This is the most they could have hoped for after the really unfortunate early game, was to delay the game to buy items. Ambition's around the backside, but is caught by Score.
He's a bit cut off from the rest of his squad. Just go ahead and knock this one down. They see Pawn over the wall. Looking for an opening, but KT smarter than that. Know where Ambition's at. So Deft is pretty far forward. That's going to be the charge in from Ambition. Not going to find the lockdown. Smeb is going to come in. Has that slicing Maelstrom locked in, and he is just stunning up absolutely everybody. Crown and Ruler both go low. They jump back over to the side. Ruler goes back in. Finds another kill here for himself. Weaver's Wall thrown down. Will cut off Score. He's going to get chomped on by Cuvee. 2 pickoffs. The smite gone. Samsung are going for Baron.
Yeah, Jana was out of position, but still was able to be the difference. Could flash and use the Monsoon. Didn't even have to use Summon a Spell Heal because no one was likely to go down. Let me introduce you to Kennen versus Jana. It always goes the same way, and the Baron is trivial for Samsung to pick up.
Go ahead and snatch that one up. 27.5 minutes, accelerating the pace of this game so much faster than we could have imagined based off of game number 1. And they are looking poised to go ahead and get to match point in this series. 3-0 over KT would be such a statement for Samsung to make after having a pretty lackluster summer split. They came in, they were the top team that we had, and then started wavering by the end. So if they could close this out concisely and dominantly, then yet again, they would be a team to absolutely be feared, rather, in the World Championship.
And it feels like Samsung are the most unknown of the teams in Korea, even though they made it to the World Final, because everyone talks about the stars of KT, of Longzhu, of SKT. Samsung, it feels weird to say they had a bad split, because remember, they could have qualified as first seed for this season. If they had beaten Longzhu on the final day in the final match, they would have been first in the regular season. They were very, very close to doing so. It's just they had notable losses to top teams that were very one-sided, which made you think, okay, Samsung's on a lower tier. When Samsung has everything together, they're a good team. Crown has been out of form at times. Other players have been out of form. Cuvee has been their most consistent player. Think back to the series a few days ago. That was with Haru, and so far in this particular gauntlet, they're undefeated with Ambition. Looking right now to crack open the base.
And Ambition's scoreline throughout the gauntlet is just growing and growing. Like I said, 4-0-18 from his series versus Afrika. Did suffer a death in game number 1, but he's looking pretty solid right now with a 0-0-4. So Weaver's Wall comes down, Ruler pushing up, looking to go ahead and clear out this inhibitor turret. He is not going to be too threatened. Calling from the sidelines will go ahead and tickle him away from the turret. In the meantime, Cuvee goes ahead, knocks down that final inner. It's 6-1 in that regard. KT Rolster almost down 10,000 gold, not even 30 minutes into this game.
No answer to the Cho'Gath. KT can choose blue side in game 3. All their prep was on red side drafts. Red side has been the more common choice, but Samsung's blue side drafts have been unbelievable on a patch people thought would be dominated by red side drafts. So KT going to have to mix that up. It's not working for them on the red side. Base broken, but no inhibitor taken down yet. Smeb looking for the teleport play.
He's got a couple options. Well, the one word right by the Raptor pit just now expiring, so it would have to come in either from directly below or from pretty far above them onto that control ward. So not the greatest option.
Look at Ambition, he's patrolling.
He's just gatekeeping. He says, you know what, if you want to go for the TP play, I got a Glacial Prison waiting for you.
That's beautiful. Beautiful positioning there from Samsung. Sort of thing that won't make a highlight reel, that won't be examined, but commendable. Ambition knows the only way things go wrong is if suddenly Janna is engaged upon with a flash from Marta and can't be there to disengage the cannon, so stop the cannon ever coming in. They're looking to break the brace a second time.
He's doing it yet again. He's going to spot this one out. He's ready to go. Ambition's got the
cancel.
That's going to be the TP cancel. In the meantime, Deft goes low, back over into the base. He gets chunked out quite a bit as well, and will have to go ahead and kite back himself in the fight. As Ruler looks for this second inhibitor.
And now he's grouped, and now you're worried as KT about their engage. So play happening around Ambition. This team growing around Ambition. Looking to take the second inhibitor and close out game 2.
A couple more hits, looking for this one. Mata maybe trying to find some sort of opening. Glacial Prison comes down, however, connects in onto the Rakan. He'll go low. One more hit would finish off the inhib.
They wanted to take down the inhib while the stun was in. Weren't able to do so, but get that last auto attack. They can get out. There's nothing to fight for here for Samsung Galaxy. Hightail it away and know the next team fight you win. Even a couple of picks come in, and just like game 1, you can probably push down the Nexus and go up 2-0.
Yeah, and also here, Ambition moving over, trying to deny some of these creeps out of the jungle, and also just kind of spot the path of KT Rolster if they wanted to cut down and try to get that Infernal Drake to take away from Samsung, but Ambition is just going to have vision over all of this. So KT is not going to be in a position to deny that away. So double Infernal, 4 Dragon stacks getting ready to go over to Samsung. And honestly, it might not even hit the point of an Elder Dragon to close out this game because of the 2 inhibitors that have already been taken. Samsung are in such a prime position to move the match point.
A freebie Infernal for the team that had 3 losing lanes on paper. It's why analysis of draft is important to a point, can definitely inform how a game will go. But just a 2v2 informed how this game would go. The moment that the solo kill, or I guess you would say duo lane kill, happened in bot lane, everything from there turned to dust for KT. All their control of the game went away. Ambition was the one setting the pace. They loaded on kills. They had a very hilariously early Ardent Sensor along everything else. Smeb once again around the back. But now Crown going to stop one potential avenue for Smeb.
Oh, the damage coming through. Def going to get popped up. He goes low down to about half HP.
Look at Ambition, still gatekeeping.
Yeah, and that just opens up so much room here. So final inhib turret going to fall. Inhibitor likely to follow as Smeb starts sneaking his way around from behind. Cube pushing forward up into the front lines. He's getting chunked out, gets the shields coming down, but won't be able to receive the redemption heal to keep himself in the fight for too much longer. But Ambition is still just locking Smeb out of the fight. Absolutely perfect by him on the Sejuani. Third inhib ready to fall. Super Creeps pushing in from the top and mid side. Samsung, can they just finish it right here?
Looks like it, Achilles. 3 inhibitors down. No way for Smeb to enter the fight. He's still going to be stopped, and we're watching the fight on the other side, 4v4.
Pushes him away. Ruler jumping away from the grand entrance. Goes in, finds one, almost finds the other, and that is just going to be the ace as Smeb is locked away. Maybe they don't even bother killing him. A mercy showing just to leave him on the rift as the Nexus crumbles, and Samsung Galaxy stomp KT Rolster 33 minutes and now are 2-0 in this best-of-5 series. One more win, and they are going to Worlds.
We don't have MVP votes in the Worlds playoff, but Ambition, with full health, full mana, was the MVP of the second half of this game. Able to zone out, knew expertly his role. Every single champion, every single player in League of Legends, whether it's solo queue or competitive, has a role. You damage, you tank, you soak, but his zoning, just from knowing exactly what KT's only avenue to even possibly win. Remember, they connected once with the ultimate. It didn't work because Janna was able to repel it, but he was happy to give up his entire kit to zone away Smeb. Smeb free farm. Smeb wasn't involved in the atrocities of bot lane. He just farmed happily in top, but by the end, he could only be a watcher as the 4v4 could only go one way, only go the way of Samsung Galaxy.
They've nearly done it. 2-0 now. One more victory, and Samsung will have beaten KT yet again in the regional qualifier. Would be punching their ticket to Worlds the second time in a row here. We'll see if they can close this out with a dominant 3-0, or if KT Rolster can bring it back and force us to a Game 4 when we come back from a very quick break. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because if this third game is going to be anything like game number 2,